So it's that time again to update those spreadsheets, find out what my real price per share is now, since we did get paid out our distributions this week. And I also want to show that even though the price of the ETFs may be down, how am I still green? So I'm going to show you what I do to stay ahead of the price as it's coming down until we can move back into a bull market on these ETFs. Hello my friends, this is Legend. So today we're going to take a look at my spreadsheets, and here is the one for CONY, and we're going to update any purchases that I've made on any of these ETFs along with the distributions that we have got paid out, and find out what my new real price per share is. And also, while we're going through this, I'm going to show how I am combating against that share price if it is going down. How am I combating against that? How am I able to keep averaging down so that when that ETF turns around and moves back up, it then becomes profitable instead of being red. But before we get started, if you enjoy this type of content, please make sure to hit that like button. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as it does help the channel out and it is much appreciated. And as we go through this worksheet here, if you're interested in getting a copy of this sheet, check out the pinned comments or in the description, where there will be a link to buy me a cup of coffee, where you can get access to this sheet so that you can make a copy of this and use it to help track your positions for your ETFs so that you know what your real price per share is. So let's just go ahead and jump right on in. And I'm going to start right off with CONY. And before I enter that distribution right here, I did make a purchase on CONY. And why did I make a purchase on CONY? Well, when I did make it, the current price was actually a little lower, right? Okay. But even at this current price, I can still use that and explain why I made the purchase. As you can see, my real price per share being $6.75, and the current price of CONY is $6.56. So therefore, if I do purchase shares at $6.56, it will lower that $6.75, and that's my real price per share, right? Not my purchase price per share, which is at $10.54. It will indeed lower that as well, but this one here, this adjusted price per share or my real price per share, that is the one that I care the most about, because that's the one that helps to track that if I were to sell out of all those shares, am I going to be profitable or am I going to take a loss on that play? And you can see right now, before I enter in my new buy and before I enter in my new distribution that we just got paid out, I am currently down on CONY, with my real price per share being at $6.75 and the current price being at $6.56. That is under my real price. Therefore, if I were to sell those shares, I would lose $65. Now, that's not much, right? Considering my total initial investment was $3,600, right? Now, I have earned those distributions, and in this case, I did earn a little bit of premium, not much, but a little bit. So both of those here, the distributions and premium, helps to adjust that total capital that I have invested. And that new adjusted capital that I have invested is shown right here at $2,361. So that divided by the number of shares I have is how it calculates the real price per share, okay? So that's the one that matters, because if this is under the current price, then if I were to sell those shares, I would make something off of it, right? So even though right now I have earned distributions of about $1,200, that is not profit, right? I earned $1,200, but I invested $3,600, right? So it's not profitable yet. And with the price of the share being below my real price per share, all those things added together means if I were to sell, I would lose $65. So what can help to change that? Well, either more distributions can help lower this, or if the share price would increase above my real price per share, right? If that happens, then I would be positive as well. So just wanted to explain a little bit about that real price per share. And by really focusing on this and lowering this one, my real price per share, not my purchase price per share, but my real price per share over here. By focusing in on this and making sure that I am not buying above this will make sure and help me to stay ahead of the game, right? So anytime that you can make a purchase under your real price per share, that's going to help lower it, right? But if you purchase above that real price per share, it's going to raise it. And therefore, it could start subtracting off or adding to your losses, right? Subtracting from your gains or adding to your losses. I like to make sure I'm earning in two different ways. I want to earn off of those distributions that I'm earning, and I want to earn off of that price appreciation. Well, in order to get that price appreciation, I need to work to get my real price per share down below the current price of the stock or ETF. And since these are not growth stocks, right? This is not Microsoft, right? This is not a growth stock or ETF. This is more of an income play, right? So we lose in the price, but we're looking to make it up in the distributions. But it doesn't always recover. So therefore, I add a little bit of help by only purchasing when the current price per share is under my real price per share. So for CONY, I did make a purchase, and I purchased a few more shares off of a buy order that I had standing out there, and it was on 10/22, and I had a buy order at $6.10. So I can enter in $6.10, and I had an order for 50 shares. Okay, so let's just see, just by that purchase, right? Buying those under my real price per share will help to lower that. So that 675 now becomes 667. Okay, and I also earned a distribution. Now, for this distribution, it has an X date of 10/23. So I can include all shares purchased before, not on and before, but just before 10/23. Well, my last purchase was 10/22, and I will be able to include those shares because it is before 10/23. So how many shares can I account for now? And that would be a total of 400 shares. Boom, 657. So close, right? I am just 1 penny away from pretty much a break even from the price of CONY, right? Because CONY is at 656, my purchase price is at 657. So if CONY comes down some more, I can make another purchase and lower it some more, right? Maybe get it down to 654. And then if CONY moves back up to 656, instead of me still being that 1 penny under, if my new real price per share dropped to 654 and the current price is 656, now I'm 2 pennies in the good, you know? Yes, not much, but it's not about the amount, right? It's about that value. It's about getting this real price per share down. And then as you're earning those distributions, you can continue to drop that down in hopes that CONY can either hold the price, go sideways, or move up. So either way, I am working to get that down so that when CONY moves up, I'm then in the green. Instead of hanging out at that $10, which is now $9.99 for my purchase share average. But like I said, that real price per share average, that's what I'm looking at, and that's what I care about. And that is how I am able to stay in the green by not averaging up and only averaging down on my adjusted price per share. or my real price per share, which is the same thing in this case. So currently, I'm at a minus $4.91 if I was to sell my shares at the current price. Not too bad at all, right? And if CONY moves up, I'll be green. And then we get a distribution, that would be awesome. So if CONY can stay flat to up, then that next distribution, I'll be in the green. Now, moving on to PLTY. And here we are on PLTY. Now, you can see I've already entered in the distribution per share amounts here on all of these just to help speed it along. All I got to enter in is the share count to calculate that and to see what that new real price per share is. So I know we spent a little extra time on CONY, but I wanted to help explain how I'm able to stay in the green. And you can see this is another example, right? My purchase share price is $60.67. Now that is still under that 62, right? It is, but I have been earning some distributions. So therefore, what is my real price per share? Before my distribution, it's $11.31. Very, very sweet. Now you look at that, and that will help you to sleep at night, right? Because if I were to sell my shares at the current price of $62.32, I will clear $1,887. Now that is not on top of my distributions. That is the total that I will clear. And that's not too shabby, right? I know some people are up in the play, some people are down in the play. As you can see, I'm down a little bit in CONY, right? But I have changed my strategy so that I do not purchase above that real price per share, because that was just prolonging getting it paid off and to help bring that real price per share down. Because anytime you're purchasing above it, you're increasing that average. Well, I don't want to work against me. I want it to work for me. So I want those distributions to work for me, and I want my purchases to work for me. The distributions are always going to work for me. But if those purchases are going to work for me, then I need to purchase under that real price per share. Now, I'm really trying to drive this home to really help you to understand, because in my mind, and I am not a professional advisor, and this is not financial advice, but this is simple math, right? Buy below your average and it will average down. Buy above your average and it will average up. And if this number determines whether or not you're green or red, if you were to sell it, then why would you be averaging it up? And that's just my opinion. So in my thoughts, if you want to help to try to combat against some of these falling prices, as some of them do fall, right? They do sometimes turn around and come back up, but I don't necessarily want to sit way up there and wait on it, right? I want to try to work to bring my average down so that price doesn't have so far to go before I'm back at a break even. And you can tell I am very passionate about this real price per share, as I see a lot of people just buying whenever and whatever the price is and not really knowing and caring what that price is. And that's up to you. You are the CEO of your portfolio, and you can do whatever you think is best, and you should do whatever you think is best. Don't follow my advice. I'm only showing my thoughts and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm only showing that if you buy under this average, it will come down. If you buy above this average, it goes up. That's just simple math. So now let's enter in the share count for PLTY, and that is 37 shares. So my $11.31 of my real price per share now becomes $10.58. Yes, right? I know I've only got 37 shares. Now I know I've only got about 2,200 of original capital invested, but how much do I actually have still at risk? Because I have earned that distribution. I only have an adjusted capital, which is my capital at risk, of $391 now, not 22, 391. Right? That's a big difference from 2,200. Now, if I were to sell my shares at this current price of $62.32, I'm going to earn $1,914.49 off the sale of those 37 shares. So I don't know about you, but I am happy and excited about that. And now that PLTY is paying out weekly, we're going to see this drop. And as this drops, I'll get to the point of hopefully hitting my goal. And you know my goal, it is to get the real price per share to 0 so that YIELDMAX has paid me back my investment, and now those shares that I will own were paid for by YIELDMAX. And the distributions coming in will be YIELDMAX money. So at that point, I would never sell as long as they're still paying out that distribution, any distribution at that point, right? Because I have no money invested. So it doesn't matter how much I make. I can make $1, right? Or 25 cents. That is still 100% profit because I have no money invested, right? It is clear profit, not including any taxes that you may have to pay wherever you live. So as you can see, I love watching this go down because as this goes down, that just means I'm getting that much closer to getting this one paid off. And let's move on. We've got NVDY. And for NVDY, my current real price per share is $14. The current price of NVDY is $15.90. So I am under the current price. So therefore, if I were to sell my shares, I would be profitable. But let's enter in that distribution. And I didn't make any purchases here, so I can enter in the full 71 shares. And it paid out 12 cents for this week. And pretty much all of these YIELDMAX ETFs are weekly payers now, okay? All but just a few. So my $14 real price per share now becomes $13.88, okay? That's what I'm talking about, right? We're bringing it down, and if NVDY can stay flat, it doesn't even have to go up. I just don't need it to move down, right? I don't necessarily want them to move down, but if they do, I am trying to keep this number under that current price. And as long as I can do that, I will be profitable. And if I need to get out because I feel like it has changed and it is not what I originally thought it was to be, then I can sell it and I can make a profit, right? Or at least break even. So currently, I would look to make $143 with the sale of NVDY. Now moving on to ULTY here. And you can see, look at ULTY. ULTY moved up to $5.04, right? It is low, right? It is low. And it wasn't too long ago when it was at 6, right? But look at my real price per share. And this is exactly why I do these high yield ETFs the way I do them. Look at this. I haven't even entered my distribution in yet, but my real price per share is $4.95. I am still green, even though ULTY has dropped down to $5.04. And I know people are wondering how that's possible, right? How can you still be green when ULTY's been going down? And you can look, all my purchases are above the current price of ULTY. Well, that's because I am also earning distributions, which helps combat against that price drop. And I do not buy unless that current price is under my real price per share. Now you can see it is close, but even at a 504 with my $4.95 real price per share, I do not want to purchase that, right? Because that will raise it. And if you don't have a way of calculating that real price per share, then check out the pinned comments or in the description where you can buy me a coffee and you can get access to this sheet where you can start tracking your position, right? Not just sit there and watch me track mine, but you can actually start tracking yours. Enter in your values and find out what your real price per share is, because this number is what is going to help you be able to understand where you actually set in your position. Now, I'm not saying after you do all your work here that you're going to be under that current price, because it really just all depends, number one, when you got in, number two, at what prices have you been reinvesting or have you not been reinvesting at all, and how many distributions you have earned from the time you started. They all play a part. That's why every single one of these are going to be different. No two people will have the same entry prices and the same number of shares for that distribution on every single entry. Everybody's real price per share is going to be different, but you need to understand what yours is. So if you don't have a way of calculating that, or you don't have a spreadsheet to do it, you're more than welcome to get this spreadsheet. And like I said, that link will be in the pinned comments and in the description below. And then you'll be able to track each one of your high yield ETFs. So for ULTY, I can enter in 150 shares, and that is going to change that real price per share from $4.95 to $4.86. And again, we're bringing it on down. Now, moving on to the one that I'm just the most excited about, and that is MSTY. And with MSTY, I've got a real price per share of 50 cents. Oh man, this is my best one, right? Even with the current price as low as it is now, $11.73, right? Yes, I'm not too happy with that either, right? Nobody is, right? But I am also working to try to keep working this down no matter what the price of the share is. So now we did earn that distribution. I have not purchased any shares. Well, why not, right? Well, that's because my real price per share is 50 cents and the current price being $11.73. If I buy any shares at $11.73, it's going to increase my real price per share. And I can show you right here for an example, because some people just have to see it visually to really understand. So we'll say because that $11.73 is a low price, right? It's definitely below my purchase share price average, right? My purchase share price average is $24.21, right? That's this number right here, $24.21. But since it is above my real price per share average, watch this number change. But say you were not calculating that real price per share and you're only looking at your share price purchase average, and you see that $11.73, so you're going to jump on it, right? And you buy at $11.73, all right? That's the current price at the time of this video, and we're going to buy almost a fourth of the number of shares that we have. So we're going to buy 100 shares. Why are we doing that? Well, because it's more than half of our purchase share average, right? So we're thinking we can lower this down, and that's going to put us in a better position, right? Well, let's just see. And that 50 cents right here, what does it become now? It becomes $2.46. All right, see? Now it's moved up. You've increased the number of shares you have. You've lowered a little bit on your purchase share price because that was $24 and some odd cents, and it's now $22. But your real price per share increased. So you can see everything gets affected when you purchase above this real price per share because it was 50 cents. And since I bought at that $11.73, it now shows that I need $2.46 more before I get this paid off. Now that does increase the number of shares I have, right? But it did cost me, and it's cost me time, right? Because before I was looking at it getting paid off with 50 cents. So if we made 20 cents for 3 more payouts, then it was going to be paid off. Now I need $2.46. Now it's going to take a bit longer, right? So you can see that it does affect the timing, and the percentage of those gains does decrease because you've increased the amount that you have invested, right? So let's just go ahead and subtract those off here because I did not actually make that purchase. That was for an example. But just for the flip side of this, and just to show what it will do if that price here is under that 50 cents. So if we put 25 cents, which it won't be, right? But again, this is just an example. And even though I make a purchase of 100 shares at 25 cents, what will it do to that real price per share? Well, since that real price per share is 50 cents and I just purchased at 25 cents, it's actually going to lower. So the real price per share dropped from 50 cents down to 46 cents. It went down. So now I only need 46 instead of 50, right? And that's why I make those purchases when my real price per share is above the current price. But since I did not make that purchase either, I will erase that as well. So now we are back to where we're at. I wanted to just show some examples of buying above my real price per share and buying below my real price per share. As like I said, some people are more visual and they want to see it and they want to see those numbers change. So I hope that helped. Now, how many shares can I account for? Well, I haven't made any purchases, so I can account for all 475 shares, and that 50 cents right here. What does it drop down to? 29 cents. Oh man, I don't know. I can just about smell it, right? What do you think? 2 weeks? And if we have a really nice one, maybe 1 week, but the way it's been in the market, it can be 2 weeks and it can be 3 weeks. But I tell you, I'm really thinking I should have this thing paid off in just a little over 1 week, right? So super excited about that with a real price per share on MSTY of 29 cents. But I just wanted to show you how I'm doing it so that you can do it too if you so choose. But make sure you do your own research, as I am not a financial advisor. SMCY. And on SMCY, how many shares can I enter? Well, I have not made any purchases, so I can enter in all 30 shares. So my $12.66 real price per share becomes $12.42. It's coming on down, and with the current price of $14.12, I am good. And if I were to sell my shares, I would earn $50.99. And now we're on AMDY. AMDY, how many shares can I account for? I have not made any purchases, so I can account for all 820 shares. And my $7.75 real price per share now becomes $7.56. Again, moving it on down. And with the current price of AMDY at $9.93, I am in the good. And if I were to sell my shares, if I was one out of AMDY, I would earn $1,941. So as you can see, even selling on AMDY, I am in the green. And AMDY was one of the ones that I was down on for quite a while, right? I was down on it because it was just dropping. Well, it did move up a little bit, right? It ain't moved up much. But because I was earning those distributions and obviously buying below my average, right? Because I was underwater on this one. It has over time now flipped and now I'm positive. Now I'm not saying that you need to hold on to it and give it time so that eventually you're positive, as you have to make your own decisions. But I'm just showing what has happened even to me for AMDY. And this one was one of my worst ones, just to be honest. Now this was of course even before I was buying below that real price per share, right? I was not calculating that. I was only looking at this price over here, my purchase share price. So I was doing the same as a lot of people were doing, trying to average down that purchase share price and still looking at it and thinking, wow, this thing sucks. I am under and it doesn't look like it's ever going to get back up to $15. I might as well get out, right? But by using this sheet, I can calculate that real price per share, and now I can see that if I were to sell my shares, I'm actually profitable, right? And that's the power of this spreadsheet, or just the power of calculating your real price per share. And moving on to YMAX. And for YMAX, I've not made any additional purchases, as you can see. And so therefore I can account for all 758 shares. So my $9.14 real price per share now becomes $8.99. And at a current price of YMAX at $12.39, I'm sitting pretty nice, right? Anytime that I am green, to me, I'm sitting pretty nice, right? So if I were to sell my shares at the current price, I make $2,500 off of YMAX. So you can't tell me that these cannot be profitable, that these YIELDMAX ETFs only go down and you can only lose money. So far, every single one I've showed you, I could make money in by selling, except for CONY, I would lose 1 penny. And if CONY can stay flat next week and we earn another distribution, that one will be green too. So let's continue on to see if the rest of them are green or if I have any others that are in the red. And now we're moving over to Roundhill, and I've got QDTE here. How many shares? I can enter in 155 shares. So that 29.01 real share price now becomes 28.81. And yes, it is a slow move, but that's almost 20 cents coming off of that real share purchase price in a week. And yes, that's going to take some time, right? It's not going to happen overnight. But if you're patient and you play these right, eventually, in my mind, you can get them paid off. And then that distribution is pure income coming in. And that income you can do whatever you want to with. As that, you can consider your little side gig for some extra money, right? Because you have none of yours invested into it. So you really so it really doesn't matter what happens. You can reinvest those distributions or you can pull them out. You can do whatever you want because you no longer have any invested interest into it, right? You have worked it so that YIELDMAX or Roundhill or Defiance has paid you back for those shares. And now they are still your shares, but at a zero cost to you. So that, my friend, is a wonderful thing that I will be experiencing in a couple more weeks with MSTY if everything still goes as planned. So with QDTE, if I were to sell my shares, I would earn $1,035 on QDTE. XDTE is a small position that I have on this one, but it is still something coming in. How many shares? I only have 5 shares, so my $39.75 becomes $39.54. With a current price of $44.04, I am still green, and if I were to sell my shares, I would earn $22. IWMY, how many shares can I account for? And that's 551, and therefore my $17.92 real price per share becomes $17.70 for my real price per share. If I were to sell my shares at the current price of $21.90, I would earn $2,300. And this one here, I'm green as well. QQQY, I can account for all 551 shares, and that real price per share of $22.59 now becomes $22.40. Just whittling away, right? Just whittling it away. At that current price of $25.12, I am green. So therefore, if I were to sell my shares, I would earn $1,498. WDTE. How many shares can I account for? And that's 540 shares. So that $29.25 real share price now becomes $29.05. So therefore, if I were to sell my shares at the current price of $33.27, I will earn $2,279. Start seeing a bit of a trend here, don't you? BIGY has not paid out because they are not weekly. They are still monthly. So I will not get a distribution for this one until November. But with my real price per share of $45.85 and the current price of $53.25, means if I were to sell my shares at the current price, all 11 shares that is, I would earn $81. And SOXY is the same thing. It's also monthly. And I only have 9 shares of this one. Both of those are very small positions. But with my real price per share average of $45.63 and the current price of $60.04, means if I were to sell all 9 of my shares, I would earn $129. And the last but not least is JEPQ. And JEPQ is also a monthly, okay? So I do not have a distribution for JEPQ until November. But as you can see on this one as well, I have 147 shares at the current moment. My real price per share is $39.43. And with the current price of $58.55, if I were to sell all 147 shares of this, I would earn $2,810.20. So this one I am green on as well. So I am green on everything that I have in these high yield ETFs except for CONY. CONY being at 657 and the price being 656 means I am 1 penny down on that position. So this one here, as you can see, if I were to sell, I would lose almost $5 out of the total capital that I had invested of almost $4,000. And the rest of them that I own, PLTY, NVDY, ULTY, MSTY, SMCY, and so forth, they're all in the green and they are all positive if I were to sell. I'm not looking to sell. I'm looking to get that real price per share down to 0. And that means they're paid off in full and all distributions from that point on are free and clear, and even the shares that I own are free and clear. So I hope I've helped you understand how important it is, at least to me, that real price per share really needs to be calculated, and you really need to know what that is. So that whenever you're making your buys and you're putting in a buy order, then you can just put in a buy order, good to cancel, and as long as it's under this price, then you don't have to do anything else, right? If the price of the stock drops down below that, whatever price you selected, that would be below that real price per share, then it will buy those number of shares that you have in that order. You can treat that like the drip, right? Rather than having drip turned on and your broker purchasing it at whatever price it happens to be at the time that they put that order in. So if CONY jumps up to 675 in this case and I had drip on, it would purchase those at 675 and that's going to raise up my real price per share. Well, I don't want that. Now, if I had drip on and it dropped down to $6.25 and it purchases, then it will bring this down, right? My real price per share. But why leave it up to chance? Why not buy your own shares at the price you want? Put in your buy order for how many ever shares you want to buy or the dollar amount that you want to spend, right? So that you can make sure that you're purchasing under that real price per share. And then the next week when you get paid that distribution and that real price per share drops, all you got to do is go into that buy order. And if you had it at 650, and I'm not saying that's what I would put it at, but say you had it at 650 because that would be below 657. After your next distribution, that drops down to 648. Well, then just go into your buy order, change to 650 and put it at 640, right? Anything below what your real price per share average is will help lower it. Now, the lower, the better, right? Because that just brings it down even faster, but I don't want to necessarily buy above it. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. And like I said, if you don't have a way to calculate that real price per share, check out the pinned comments and the description where you can buy me a coffee and get a copy of this spreadsheet where then you can make your own copy and track each one of these high yield ETFs that you have so that you know what your actual position is in each one. So if you like this kind of content, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're not already subscribed, to make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you can get notified when new videos drop. So as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.